Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the next. I have this right side up? Yes, the next in the Kapustin Concerto and Other Goodies series, featuring crack pianist Frank Dupree. In this case, with the Berlin Radio Symphony Orchestra under Dominik Beykirch, along with Adrian Brendle, additional clavier or piano. Oh, this is wonderful stuff. You know, there are few things more heartening in the record industry. Here, let me show this up there really close so you can get a good look at it. There are few things more heartening in the record industry than worthy projects that are still ongoing, discovering fabulous music that we really all ought to know. You know, Kapustin, who passed away in 2020, got very little attention while he was alive. And of course, that's always the case, isn't it? And he started to get some play, you know, in the last couple of decades of his life, the last decade or so. And he wasn't a man who was particularly interested in publicity or acclaim. He was a very insular guy. He sat at home in his apartment in Moscow. He was originally from Ukraine, let's not forget. And maybe it was a mercy that he passed away before the current situation, so he didn't have to see that happen. But the bottom line is, he just wrote. He wrote music out of an inner compulsion to write music. And if it got played, it got played. If it didn't, it didn't. And you've got to remember that, you know, the Russian Gershwin, as he is now sort of kind of known, you know, he was not the kind of guy who was going to get a lot of attention because of the style of music that he wrote, which was American jazz flavored. Let's put it that way. But it was his natural mode of expression. You know, when I did the first couple of videos on Kapustin, I got some rather nasty comments from people who thought that his music was, you know, worthless and shallow and imitative and derivative and all of those things. But that's not really the point. The only thing that matters is whether somebody writes music coherently and expresses what they need to express in a superior way. And he did. He absolutely did. His language is his language. It was what it was. And where it came from and who invented it is completely, totally, utterly irrelevant. What matters is whether he had something to say and the capacity to say it. And he does. He certainly does. Now, you may not like that style. And remember, I talked about some composers are open and some are closed. Well, you know, Kapustin was a closed composer. That is, he had his language. He spoke it with great purity. It teaches you what it is as you listen to it. You don't have to do anything special with it. You just hear it and soak it in, and you realize that within the style that he chose, and it was a limited style, it was the limitations he set for himself, he expresses a full gamut of emotion and mood and atmosphere, and he does it with absolutely phenomenal precision and accuracy. I mean, he knew how to use the language he employed. There's no question about that. Whether you like it or not, well, that's irrelevant. I mean, you either do or you don't. If you do like it, great. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. I mean, that's the story, right? But this particular disc is absolutely marvelous, as was the first disc or two that this group has done. They did, of course, an orchestral disc and then a disc of his chamber stuff. And, oh gosh, it's all marvelous. We have the Piano Concerto number 5, which is in one movement. It's in one big movement, 21 minutes long. And it's, oh my goodness, you know, his writing for piano and orchestra is so, so effective. I mean, there's an absolute equilibrium between the piano, the strings, the brass and winds, the percussion, and it's like a giant chamber thing. And they're all just trading off and popping in and out with amazing dexterity. It's so natural sounding. That's what's so wonderful about it. It really is. And the piece is as breezy and marvelous as any you'll hear, and it would slay them at a real symphony concert. If anyone did it live, it absolutely would blow people's minds. It's as wonderful a novelty as the Gershwin Concerto or the Ravel Left-Hand Concerto or any of those, you know, the Ireland Concerto, those sort of jazz / whatever influenced pieces. And it's just wonderful. After that, we get a fantastically rather more intellectual piece, the Concerto for two pianos and percussion. That dates from 2002. Now, the medium is obviously derived from the Bartók Sonata for two pianos and percussion. And that masterpiece is, absolutely fantastic. I mean, piano and percussion is a wonderful, wonderful medium that not too many composers have exploited. I mean, George Crumb did, memorably, among the most modern composers, systematically. He did it, and it all, derives from Stravinsky's Les Noces, which, by way of Karl Orff's Catulle Carmina, it's all like, there are a few people who used it really well. And Kapustin is certainly one of those. Of course, the idiom is his typically jazz-type idiom. The percussion is a trap set with additions. And it's so sensitively done. I mean, his ear for sonority is marvelous. He expands the range of the piano by the use of additional mallet instruments, including the xylophone, the glockenspiel only in the finale, very briefly, the vibraphone, which is just marvelous in this context. I mean, really, really wonderful sonorities, and it's a captivating piece. But it's a little bit more harmonically acerbic than the Concerto, a little bit maybe more abstract in sound. But whew, a masterwork, absolutely. And the last piece is the Sinfonietta for piano four hands. And the Sinfonietta for piano four hands was originally an orchestral work. And I hope someone does the original orchestral version of it. That would just be lovely. But it works wonderfully for piano four hands. It's in four movements. You get an overture, a slow waltz, an intermezzo, and a rondo presto zippy finale, which is still stuck in my head. Do, 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 do. I mean, it's like, wow, okay. He writes tunes, and he writes very good tunes when he wants to anyway. Several of them are in the Concerto, the fifth piano Concerto. Like I said, the other thing, the two pianos and percussion thing is a little more on the abstract side, but it's all melodic, essentially. And the Sinfonietta has some really catchy tunes. It's the earliest work here. It's from 1986. The fifth piano concerto is from 1993. They are all magnificently played by Frank Dupree, who deserves endless credit for learning this music and for presenting it so winningly, and Capriccio for recording it so deftly and marvelously. I hope this series never ends. I really do. There's nothing more exciting than discovering a new voice and learning how it operates and really getting to know it. I mean, really getting to know it, being able to sink into it and play it over and over and imbibe and get yourself on the same wavelength as somebody who really has something to say, as Kapustin does. So I recommend this as highly as I recommended the first one with Concerto number 4 and other things. And just keep on listening, friends. It's still coming, and life is good. Take care.